I now call the Student Senate meeting into order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll now open up with a land acknowledgement. So I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, February 1st, 2024, with land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band, Potawatomi, and Saginaw Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at Kansas State. All right, we will now have Interim Secretary Carson Cuesta take it away with the roll call.
Okay, Atchison. Bellamy. Biggs. Blood. Broughton. Bruckner. Koch. Compton. Cupp. Dennis. Drotz. Dunce. Fogel. Glasscock. Griffith. Haynes. Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine. Hoffmans. Holsey. Hunley. Jacobson. Kirshen. Kidd. Kermer. Kinsey. Lilly. Long. Lynn. Mason. Melcher. Moore. O'Malley. Oury. Pelton. Peterson. Rios. Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Saya Carly. Saya Nick. Salmon. Streetman. Strunk. Sushanik. West. Winger. Wolf. Zatko. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed last Tuesday to everybody through email. So if anybody would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes. Senator Glasscock. It's been moved and seconded. We'll now be moving on to the announcements. Brief introduction, welcome. Obviously, both Kate and Brady are not here presently, so I'll be filling in along with Cuesta here as interim secretary, as well as assistant from Bryce Atchison here for temporary parliamentarian. Moving on with the announcements, the SGA merch is still available, so if you'd like to go ahead and kind of click on that link, you can move on there. Yeah, kind of just showing basic stuff. We got some tees, crew necks, a variety of different payment methods if you'd like to go ahead and find that something that you want to wear or buy and have for yourself. Senator Cope? Oh, yes, there should be. I'm sorry. Yeah, you got me there. You got me there. We'll be now moving on to first open period. That is my humble apologies. So we're going to go ahead and have our first open period speaker come up. You may introduce yourself as well.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank y'all. Okay, so my name is Nedra McPherson III. I am the president for the Black Student Union at Kansas State University. Might I say the award-winning Black Student Union for Kansas State University. And I'm here to kind of present about what our Black History Month programming looks like, and also what our organization does, kind of just on a just on a deeper level, and talk about some of the events and programming we do. So, who am I? I'm the 2023-2024 BSU president. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a senior studying business marketing with a minor in music on the pre-law track. I work as a production director at Wildcat 919. I play violin for the Kansas State University Symphony Orchestra, and I'm also a Snyder Leadership Fellow, so I'm kind of involved in every single aspect on campus, to be honest. Feels like I do a little bit of everything. So my platform this year is the Black Network Strengthening Our Connections. You might be thinking, what does that mean? Like, what is the Black Network? So essentially the definition of a network is a group or system of interconnected people or things. So the Black students on Kansas State's campus, we are a network. And the whole idea is like there are people in a given room who can get you to where you want to be. The whole point is that you have to ask and you have to make those meaningful connections with people. And so one of the things is like talking to other people in rooms by having like deeper conversations with them and not just surface level conversations. I think that's something that we do a lot. It's like, hey, how are you? Cool. How was your break? But it's like really talking to somebody and getting to know them. And at the bottom, it just says you never know who knows who. When I presented, I talked about the 6 degrees of separation, about how we're connected to anybody on the planet by like 6 people or less. And I think that by just having these conversations with people, we can get to where we want to go by connecting with people. So my platform has 3 kind of ideas to it. The first one is strengthening our connections with other organizations. So an example of that, it would be with SGA, strengthening our relationship with y'all, with the multicultural organizations on campus by having more events together. This year, we've been able to have a volleyball tournament. We had a bowling social, and that's more than we've ever done in the past. So shout out Ibrahim for that and helping to put those together. On top of that, we have strengthening our connections with our alumni. That's a big thing for me. So this year, we had a panel discussion with our past alumni. It was called Wisdom of the Elders, and we just had faculty and staff on campus come through and just kind of talk to students and give them advice about navigating college and what it's like in the real world. And also, like, we have a LinkedIn where the whole point is that, our alumni can join and connect with students, and that could potentially lead to internships, that could lead to job opportunities, anything like that. And lastly, strengthening our connections within BSU. I really wanted to have a familial feeling and feel like a family. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to be able to come to me, come to anybody on my executive board, go to anybody in the room with anything. I just want to be open with people. So what have we done? That's a good question. So, this past year, in 2023, we held the Big 12 Conference on Black Student Government. Essentially, we brought 600 Black students to Kansas State University, all across the Big 12. Some were from non-Big 12 schools. And we not only presented awards, but we had keynote speakers, we had workshops. It was a really great time. So like the workshops were like, everything is centered around being Black, essentially. So, I mean, it talks about Black mental health. It talks about knowing yourself. It just helps you learn how to navigate certain spaces and know more about yourself. We had big name keynote speakers like Tamika Mallory and Kevin Richardson, who was part of the Central Park 5. And lastly, again, we had the awards for like most outstanding BSU, scholarships, things like that. Oh, yeah, I'm ready for the next one. Thank you. All right, so this is just to depict, this is the president from last year, Christopher Burrell. Some of you might know him, some of you might not. Really swell guy. But we actually won Most Outstanding BSU. That's an award that we've won 15 out of 17 times. So, by all accounts, K-State has the best BSU in the Big 12. Probably in the whole country, but who am I to say that, I'm a little biased. So this is actually a video, but when I sent the presentation, the font kind of messed up. So if you want to see the video, follow us on Instagram at KSUBSU. But this is from our 28th annual Welcome Back Barbecue. So at the beginning of every single school year, we host a barbecue where students can get together and actually connect with the people in BSU and kind of learn about what BSU is, learn about other Black orgs on campus, whether that's like Black Greeks, so NPHC, whether that's like NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. So like they'll table, and the students will be able to learn about those different organizations and get involved before, like, it's on like the Saturday of the first week of school. So like that next week when organizations start having meetings, they have that chance to be there and actually already know a little bit about the organization. This year, we also had our first annual Welcome Black Week. It was the first time we've ever done anything like this. So the whole point was to have programming for the first week of, or technically I guess it's the second week because the first week like nothing happens, but like the second week of school. And this is just a way for like to get Black students involved on campus and just to kind of get them acclimated with campus, get them to make friends. Because I mean, when you're a freshman coming to college, sometimes it's a little difficult to make friends. It's a little intimidating going and talking to people, interacting with everyone. So this event was kind of a way to kind of get them acclimated to campus and learn about the different resources that we have and learn about all the different organizations. Next, our BSU meetings. So we host meetings every single week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. in room 227. These are so few of the ones that we did from last year. So Let's Talk BSU was our first meeting. We'll do fun meetings, like we did a trap spelling bee where, you know, the winner got like a gift card, you know, they got like a Target gift card and things like that. And it's a really, really fun meeting. But we also try to do meetings where we educate the community. So we did a Know Your Rights meeting where we brought in a police officer, a retired police officer, who came in and kind of broke down the different rights that you have. Like, okay, what if you get pulled over? Like what are you allowed to do? What are you allowed to say? What does that look like? What if you go to jail? You know what I mean? Like what do you actually get? And so we wanted to make sure that, you know, our students kind of understood what their rights were. So that was what that meeting was. And those are pictures from the meeting, if you couldn't tell. We also have a mentor-mentee program. So essentially what that is we take an underclassman and we pair them with an upperclassman. So usually it's like freshmen and sophomores getting paired with juniors, seniors, or grad students. And the whole point is just to have somebody who's kind of been in your shoes and who can kind of explain to you, like, okay, this is what your major requires. Maybe you should take this class. Don't take this class. Don't take that teacher, because that teacher doesn't ever give out an A. And so the whole thing is just to build that connection with people, and also just so that way you can kind of learn from the people around you. That's a big thing. Right there is our freshman action team. So that's something that every BSU in the Big 12 has. But the thing is that they essentially work under BSU. And so in order to get freshmen involved in BSU and to give them leadership abilities, because they don't have a chance to run for executive board positions, because obviously, you know, we do it in the year before. We have the freshman action team where they have their own president, they have their own vice president, treasurer, secretary, all that stuff, but they have the chance to make their own programming. So they host a BSU meeting, they host a philanthropy event, they actually make a book to compete for most outstanding FAT, and I'm really, really proud of them, because like they've done a lot of good work. They've been really, really active, more active than FATs in the past. And I'm really, really excited to see them bring home that most outstanding FAT award in conference at the end of February. So this right here is our Black History Month calendar. So for those of y'all that didn't know, it's February 1st, so it's Black History Month. So obviously BSU is gonna have a ton of programming and a ton of different events. So tonight we have a karaoke night. My voice might sound a little raspy because I was over there singing my heart out. But we have a karaoke night tonight. On top of that, we have like our meetings listed right here. On the 27th, we're having Jaleel White come, which is really, really exciting. So if any of you guys know who Steve Urkel is, he'll be coming to kind of talk about his different experiences that he's had, and also like talking about what it means to build connections with people, how to utilize those connections to get to where you want to go. There's a Black Business Farmers Market we'll also be hosting, which is an event I'm really, really excited for. We're partnering with UPC to bring close to 15 to 20 Black-owned businesses to come in and like actually have like a market in the Union, in the courtyard. And there'll be anything from like, scented candles to clothing to like, there's a Manhattan Mob Records is coming, and like the whole point is like they're gonna have a studio and have a freestyle contest, and the winner gets like a grand prize and gets featured on their Instagram. So I'm really, really excited for that event. So to learn more about what we're doing So to learn more about what we're doing for Black History Month and just what we do in general, follow us on Instagram at KSUBSU. I think our page looks really, really good. Not to toot my own horn or anything. But right there, that's the best way to keep up with what we're doing, what our programming looks like, what our meetings look like. We stay really, really active on Instagram because, now with COVID, it's been harder to reach students to a certain degree because, people spent that prime time in high school on Zoom. And so, like, that time when you're making friends and building connections and actually, like, kind of trying to figure out who you are, you didn't get that. And so Instagram has been a way for us to connect with those students and get a chance to get them involved in BSU and get them involved in campus. I'm really, really excited for that. So I always like to end every single presentation with a quote. I think that it's just something to take home with you and something to think about. The world is before you, and you need not take it or leave it as it was when you came in. James Baldwin. Just a quote that I really, really enjoy. And are there any questions? Anything I can answer or clarify or something I didn't explain well? All right. Oh,
Senator Zacco.
no, it's for everybody. So what I'll say is with BSU, anything that we do, anybody's able to come. You know what I mean? Like to our weekly meetings, anybody's invited to our weekly meetings. Anybody's invited to any event that we have. Anybody's invited to follow our Instagram. Obviously, it's Instagram. You can follow whoever you want. But yeah, the specifically the Black Business Farmers Market will not be just specifically for BSU. BSU will have a table if you want to learn more about BSU, but it's for everybody. So please come. Please come. Are there any other questions? Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I can call on him.
Chief T. Sorry. No.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really, really great question. So every single year, it's hosted at a different Big 12 school, and we have a conference, again, where we bring in 600 Black students. So it was at K-State this past year, because that's just every 10 years it comes back to K-State. And so this year we'll be going to Iowa State. And really, really the big thing for me is that when you go to conference, I think the workshops are cool, the speakers are cool, the food is cool, the parties are cool. But I think truthfully, the biggest part, the most important part to me is connecting with other students in the Big 12. Because I think that we find that a lot of the problems we might have the successes and problems we have at our institutions are like commonalities between all of us. It's not just like an isolated event at UT. It's not an isolated event at OU. And it's really, really great to hear experiences from other Black students at other schools. That's been the most impactful thing to me. I'm a part of council, so essentially council helps to run the conference to a certain degree. Like we hand out the awards, we hand out the scholarships, and my job is the financial chair, and I've been a part of council for 4 years, and that's really helped grow me as a person, as a leader, and my love for BSU, honestly. So hopefully that answers your question about conference and gives a little bit more clarification on what it looks like.
Are there any further questions? You can raise your placard there. Caucus Leader Compton.
It's a really, really good question. No, I mean, money, like, but truthfully, like, I mean, yeah, money, I'll say that, but also just sharing posts. Like if you want to come, you're more than welcome to come, because I think that there's always something to be learned at a BSU meeting, especially like I think it's important to learn about the people around you, because I mean, there are Black people here. So it's kind of important to learn about their experiences and what K-State looks like to them, because what K-State looks like for me probably doesn't look the same for you guys. Your guys' experience doesn't look like mine. It's just different. And so I think the biggest thing would just be like coming and learning, if you're interested in doing that. If not, no biggie, but coming and learning. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Nice. Thank you guys for having me. Have a good night.
All right, with that, are there any other first open period speakers? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes, but we already seem to have done that, so we're just going to go segue into announcements again. Okay, with the announcements, as I said before here, SGA merch is available. We are looking for people who are interested in tees, crew necks, a variety of different payment methods such as Cash App, Cash, etc., as well as a bunch of other things. We are hosting an SGA alumni event coming up. The dates will be April 20th to 21st. There will be more details coming in the future, so keep a lookout for that. Reach out to VP Jess Binkley for any further questions. Moving on to proxies, if you're going to be absent for a student senate meeting, please fill out the link provided there, even if you are sure you are probably going to be available, or if you aren't sure you're going to be available, and absence will be excused. If you're going to be physically absent, but you'll need or would like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the Senate or student senator Zoom request form provided with another link there, submission requests on that link there. If you want to give props to someone for Student Senate, fill out the Senate shout-out form, and Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman, who's not here, so it'll be Interim Secretary Carson Cuesta at the end will read them out. The student SGA Member of the Week is Nushin Darvishinya. Nushin is an at-large member of the DIB committee and did a fantastic job as a new member. Thank you for your dedication, Nushin. All right, and moving on, we have the upcoming events calendar for next week. Pretty much the exact same with the exception of Senate Exec. Senate Exec did not occur this week as the leadership was not present. Next week, it will occur. Quote of the week, if you are dissatisfied with the way things are, then you have got to resolve to change them, from Barbara Johnson. All right, and moving on to committee reports. Does any committee leader have a report tonight? Chair Blood.
I just wanted to mention that in relation to the special committee on governing dock realignment, we will be meeting for the rest of the term from 10:30 to 11:30 in the Student Programs and Involvement Conference Room on Fridays. This week, we'll be going over certain discrepancies that our committee has found within the executive branch, and we plan to go through each of the subsequent branches each week before we present that legislation during the final 2 weeks of Senate here to kind of cover those across the 3 governing documents. Question. Perfect.
Are there any questions? Seeing none. Are there any other committee chairs that will have a report tonight? Chair Lynn?
On the agenda in introduction tonight is going to be a bill asking to pull $50,000 from the DPF reserve account to be able to spend that for the remainder of this semester. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that I am planning on special ordering that tonight because we're on a little bit of time constraints, but you'll hear that part later. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Are there any other committee chairs that have a report tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to directors' reports. Are there any directors that have a report tonight? Election Commissioner Saya.
All right, good evening, everybody. So my report's about 2 things. First is an elections update. As of right now, we're about a quarter of the way to our overall filing goal for students registered to file for Senate office. So if you haven't done so, I would absolutely encourage you to do so unless you're graduating. And if you've done so, if you've filed, I would especially encourage you to encourage other people you know to file and bring them into the organization with you. That experience has been really great for me personally, and is probably the reason why I've stuck around in this organization for as long as I have. Not because I didn't meet people in the organization, but because, you know, it kind of works both ways. This is a different part of that, and it relates to the work that I've been doing on incentives for Senate office, right? We know that, you know, people leave the organization for a lot of different reasons, and we've tried to tackle, or I've tried to tackle some of those reasons, like things in Senate that go too long, but we recognize pretty early on that certain incentives that are given to some officers of this organization may warrant a conversation about how other people should be compensated for giving their time to helping other students. So, in order to do that and actually get valuable information from you all, I made this sort of survey that gives you a hypothetical $100 and then asks you to decide how you would spend it. So the survey is marked with 100 different ways that you can break up that $100, but I would encourage you to take it, and then that will give me a stronger idea of the kinds of things that people in this room actually value, and relatively speaking, how much they value them, as we maybe explore investing in some of those incentives. But I'll give you time to fill that out. Does anyone have questions?
Senator Cope?
Yes. Those are like the nicer seats. So we're trying to ballpark what, certain, not necessarily boxes would look like, but like chairs with backs or chairs in special areas with access to a lounge and this and that. That with athletic seats, it's a very tricky situation to figure out what we can and can't offer. So I want to be careful not to say that anything on this list is something we can realistically provide, because there are so many options with athletics seats. But other schools have lottery-based systems for athletics, right? It's at Oklahoma State. They have a box that SGA has every year, and every game they give out tickets to go to that game and sit in that box, right? So you're getting an experience that you wouldn't have with the tickets that you already have access to as a student. What you see on that survey is my very rough attempt to sort of ballpark how much that costs relative to other incentives and how much they cost.
Are there any further questions? Emerging leader, what is that? Glanville? Glanville.
That's interesting. Yeah, you can leave it blank. That's an oversight on my part. I apologize. You can leave it blank.
Any further questions? Senator Griffith?
That's a fantastic question. So that I actually do know about, because I and Senator Blood, Chair Blood, and Chair Long all sat down with the Director of Parking Services to get hard estimates on what this actually looks like and make sure that we can offer you parking passes at a price. And the difference between the passes that you're posed there is a garage pass, which is actually referred to as a preferred pass. I'll call it a garage pass. That gives you 24/7 access to the K-State Union garage. And, Brian, do you have something to add?
So the garage passes for stalls give you 24/7 access to the KSU garage, as well as a O pass, which is any of the O lots. So a typical commuter pass allows you to park in the OT and Z lots. So you're allowed to park in those in addition to the garage. You get to like pick one off left. An O pass would be a typical what we call commuter pass on the parking board, which is you park in OT and Z lots typically, and then there's a add-on, which in Nick's scenario here would include that add-on, which would allow you between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 a.m. the next day, Monday through Thursday, to be able to park in the garage as well, included with your pass.
Yeah, so for the sake of the survey, one pass will both passes have the same O access all day. One of them would let you have access to the garage 24/7. One of them would let you have access to the garage after 5 o'clock. The one after 5 o'clock is, roughly speaking, half the cost.
Chair Shusanik.
When you're talking about parking passes for second and third term SGA members, would an intern be in their first term and then when they're elected it's second term, or?
No. Anyone who steps in as a freshman to fill a role in an interim sense is not completing a term for the purposes of this, like, incentive.
Okay, so a term is an entire year of something.
Correct. If you choose the option that awards seniority in that way.
Senator Zacco.
So with that, like in my case, right after elections, I was asked to, because I was like a write-in, I was the next one, so I wasn't elected on the ballot, but I was called in like less than a month after elections were over. What would the situation be for that?
I don't want to give you an answer on how we would handle that special case because I think that's totally dependent on how many passes we buy and how we set up that situation. There are serious logistical challenges with giving it to some people and not other people when it's not based on like a leadership role, right? That doesn't mean that those aren't good options. But yeah, there are small wrinkles to work out for sure.
Senator Glasgow.
In the scenario that someone is a senator for 2 or 3 months and then stops serving that role, what would be the mechanism for moving over those benefits and then?
Great question, Chase. And that's part of the reason why our conversation with the Director of Parking Services was so helpful. In the universe where SGA had, passes for every member, right? Let's say every senator, as soon as they're sworn in, gets assigned to a pass that SGA owns. That means that if a senator were to resign or were to be expelled, then SGA could disconnect that student from that pass, and we can assign it to a new student. Some incentives in compensation don't work that way, right? Like certain officers get a scholarship as part of their compensation. You can't take that back. Gift cards, you can't take that back. But with this, you can.
Senator Fogel.
You talked about universities like Oklahoma State. Besides games and parking, what does that look like?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Senator Koch.
Asking for Senator Bellamy, how many, what percent of students have passes, and then how many of the students would be turned away if SGA got garage passes?
Well, as far as, okay, for the O passes with after hours access, those are functionally unlimited. As far as I understand, parking services will sell as many of those passes as people want to buy because so many people mix in and out throughout the day that there's no cap. For the garage, it's my understanding that there are about 500 passes. Remember, those are with 24-hour access, the preferred passes. There are about 500 offered every year to students. So there is a finite pool. They sell out really quickly. Yes, if SGA buys those passes,
Time
then
for
that
questions
means-
is expired.
Is the motion to extend? President Stout. It's time for question, not time for speaking. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Time for questions will extend by 4 minutes.
Yeah, so to respond to that question, they're on a first come, first served basis, and a certain percentage of those that SGA works out in a deal would not be first come, first serve.
Chair Shusanik.
In having conversations about incentives, what are your thoughts on compensating
In my budgeting to come up with those like rough figures for those options, those individuals are included in the leadership designation because they don't currently receive any compensation, and they're always like kind of part of the part of the conversation anytime scholarship compensation rolls around. So that does depend on the policy, but of the options that I offer based on what's in the survey, those individuals were included.
Senator Glasscock.
How much, I grant that you have a number in your mind of how much you expect a reasonable amount of compensation for the teaching, or it is not, but do you have like a reasonable, like, this figure you would expect to spend?
I don't have an expectation on what we want to spend. I don't have a strong command of what we might be willing to spend, and that's going to look different for every person. We wanted to start this process by collecting information on what people actually value, and then that's going to change, what we are willing to invest in, right? If people are all in on the really nice parking passes, that might look different than if people only want gift cards, right?
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your
All right.
time.
Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. I really appreciate it.
All right. Do any directors have any further reports tonight? Seeing none, we will be moving on to approval of allocations. Is there a motion to approve the allocation? President Stout. It's been moved and seconded. We have now the allocation Bill 23-24-42, fiscal year 2024 student allocation to Blue Key Honor Society. May the no, it's not the author. Is there a motion to approve the allocations? Oh, it's already been approved? All right, sorry. Moving on from then, we'll move on to final action. We have a total of 6 different pieces of legislation here tonight up for final action, starting off with Resolution 23-24-45. May the author please come forward.
All right, I'm back. We made one change in committee, and that was in the Be It Resolved section. Bryce, can you scroll down to the Be It Resolved? No. Sorry, I lied. It's in the Whereas clauses. It explains who A. Thornton Edwards is. He was the very first director of housing and dining, was a big deal at the national level of housing and dining. Thank you very much to the Senate Strategic Oversight Committee for doing a bunch of work on that and giving us more information.
Senator Koch.
This is not the updated version.
Oh,
Yeah, if you could pull that up. There was an updated one sent out in the updated copy.
all right.
Just pull that up.
Let's see.
Okay, the updated version is now up on the screen, available.
All right.
Yeah, we good.
Okay, great. Thanks everybody for being patient with that. This has bounced around in committee for a few weeks. I introduced it before break. The point of this legislation is that they're tearing down Edwards Hall, which is just southeast of the rec center, and they're putting a parking lot on that land, and I don't think that they should. So I wrote this about it. How much do you think parking costs to put in a lot, to repair a lot for every stall? $100? $500? It's $6,000. I am not lying. Do you remember earlier when I was talking about how we met with the director of parking services? These numbers are fresh. And let me tell you, it's not getting any cheaper to build parking in this country. To build a garage, it's $21,000 for every single stall in the garage. Parking is just expensive. And if you have driven around Manhattan anytime in the last couple of days, you'll know that weather and the damage that it causes to the roadways can be pretty significant pretty quickly. So there are always maintenance issues to resolve. What we're looking at for this parking lot is $6,000 a stall for every 20 to 30 years when we have to replace it. Now, I want to be honest with the room. We're not paying to build this lot. Other people have offered to build this lot. My main concern is about what it takes to maintain this lot. And the reason why I'm concerned about that is because parking services already has very severe restrictions on their budget because of their maintenance obligations across campus. Frankly, they're not taking in enough money to pay for the maintenance and use of all of the campus parking lots. What that means down the line is that some way or another, they need to collect more money. That comes down to parking passes. Parking passes are not cheap for anyone that has to buy them. They're only going to get more expensive the more expensive we make it to park on campus and the more resources that operation demands. This particular lot, I think we hear a lot about parking as an issue on campus. We hear a lot about students who wish they could park here or there or have difficulty, reaching the engineering building to make it to class on time. I don't know that I've ever heard any student complain that they were late to soccer practice because they couldn't park near the rec, right? Like, this is not in a high demand area of campus that we know might warrant additional investment and might relieve pressure on students. So to that end, I don't want this investment to be made. There's one group of students that I don't want to leave out of that conversation, and that is those in the College of Veterinary Medicine who are in a building right across the street and do use the lot that surrounds Edwards now. It's likely that they might look to use this lot were it to be constructed. The thing about that conversation is that there is another lot right behind Weber. It's a Z lot that anyone can park in that is never full. It is famously always empty. And compared to about 600 feet that it takes to walk from the Edwards Hall lot to the doors of the Vet Med building, it's about 1,000 feet from the Weber lot. So it is farther, but you don't have to cross a busy street. You only have to cross Claflin on campus. And the Denison crossing actually has one of those pedestrian, flashing warning signs.
Time.
Which, it's too expensive, don't build it. I'll be done.
Right. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Any further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Emerging leader, Glenville. Glanville.
As a user of parking on campus and the struggles of finding parking on campus, especially in that area, and with the little bit of research that I found online that the building is permanently closed, why not make it a space that is beneficial for students who need to go to class? Granted, busy street. We all cross busy streets. It's Manhattan. And especially with it being so close to the rec, I can never find parking at the rec. If it's another lot, then I am closer to the rec to park to be able to go in. I know when I want to go work out, I shouldn't have to spend 20 minutes driving around in a circle to try and find parking so I can go work out. That is a mental workout. I'm there for a physical workout. Therefore, if we're not using the space properly now, why not make it something usable for students who already complain about no parking on campus? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing as that was further debate in the positive, do we have any debate in the negative? Oh, that was negative? Oh, okay, sorry. Do we have debate in the positive? Chair Long.
Truth be told, part of me is excited I get to debate in the positive about concrete. For those that don't know, I am construction science and management and work for a company that does pricing out for lenders that would like to repair, remodel, yada yada, loan on things. Parking lots are expensive. They don't get cheaper. They don't really make money. There's not going to be an influx of people buying parking passes now that there's this new lot to park with. I don't disagree with the previous speaker on the building. It's in process of demo. I'm pretty sure there's only half a building left at this point anyway. It's being torn down. Why not make it something useful? Absolutely, yes, let's make it into something useful. Another concrete slab on the ground to park in is not what's going to be the most useful for the students, and it's also not going to provide the students anything that's going to make any kind of monetary benefit. It is a money suck, and it is a waste of space in that location. Parking is a definite issue on campus, but a parking lot there will not solve the problems that students would like to have solved when it comes to parking.
Thank you. Seeing that was debate in the positive, is there any further debate in the negative? Any? Chair Blib?
I wanted to provide some additional context on who is potentially paying for this lot and why I think it's actually a pretty good decision to do so. If we remember when we had to move where not technically student parking, but where most of us parked for game days was at, we had to move that farther down towards the rec. Well, as we've continued to expand our athletic facilities, numerous members of athletics have come to parking services, come to different groups, and thought about putting that student lot right there where Edwards is. Now, whether they do end up paying for that or not, that's the only way it's going to get built, at least right now, from parking services. It would give us much more as students a dedicated lot on game days, just as most of the rec lots are already rented, leased back to athletics. And then the rest of the time would provide some alleviation, as other speakers have mentioned, to vet med, to the rec, potentially rent it out during the week to different organizations that exist down Denison, such as NBAF, and even potentially bringing in certain revenue streams to parking services. Yes, we would have to maintain it, but we wouldn't be paying that upfront cost and would be allowing for additional parking there and more dedicated space that will most likely not be taken up as we continue to creep into the rec lot from athletics. And so I think there's some benefit, especially if that ends up being the use case, to putting a parking lot there. And so I don't know, since we still don't have all the answers of what exactly is going to occur in this spot, I urge you to vote no right now until we get the definite answer of, is a lot actually going to be put there? Still up in the air. And if it is, what's that lot's purpose? And then we can make that determination on what SGA's recommendation is.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there any debate in the positive? Senator Griffith.
Right here, I'm not sure if you can see, but right here I have the official campus map of Edwards Hall. Now, let's assume the largest possible space would see all of the building here and all the green around it would get demolished and turned into a parking lot. That does not look like a lot of parking to me. That looks like a little bit of parking. That doesn't look like it would be nearly enough to be able to cover the amount of necessary space to make a significant dent in the parking problem. And then this is Edwards Hall in relation to the rest of campus. Right here in the center. Notice how out of the way it is from the bulk of campus. Not only would this not be enough to significantly relieve parking pressure, but it also is not in a place where even if it was able to, would it actually be able to make that dent. It is neither large enough nor in a good enough position to be worth turning into more parking, which will just, over many years, be another drain on the parking department. There is hundreds, if not thousands of things that you could do with this spot that is better than parking. So I urge you to vote yes on this resolution.
Thank you for that debate. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we're now looking for debate in the negative. Chair Suchanek.
So I don't have any strong connection to the College of Vet Med, except that I started working there last semester. I'm not a vet student, and I'm not a representative from that college. But it's important to note that we don't have a single representative from that college in this room while discussing legislation that pretty strongly pertains to the students and administration and staff of that part of campus. From working at Vet Med, I've seen a lot of the way that they are treated differently than the rest of campus. For example, there are a lot of changes happening with IT that main campus finds out about long before we do, and we're finding out about it at like 4 p.m. on a Thursday for things that need to be done by next Monday. So I just get very anxious with passing any sort of bill that pertains to students who we don't have representation for in this room. Secondly, I agreed with points from a previous speaker that we don't know what potential benefits could come from adding parking to this space as far as game day or students who live at Jardine or people coming and parking over here at NBAF. It might end up being a good economic benefit, especially as we keep talking about expansions on North Campus up there. I think we should continue to keep innovating, and that if this is what admin and staff decides to be the best decision and best use of our space to move the university forward into the next generation, that shouldn't be something that we're standing in the way of.
All right, thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, we are now looking for debate in the positive. Is there any further debate in the negative? Is there any debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a voice vote. So the way we're gonna have this work is everybody just go ahead. Chair Blood. Point of information? Huh? Yeah, okay, we'll just go ahead and move it into a hand vote. So just for those who are in favor, you're just going to raise your placards. For those no, raise placards then. So if you are voting in favor of this piece of legislation, raise your placards now. Proxies raise 2. And raise. You got it? You good with that? Okay. All right. And noes, raise your placards now. Proxies raise 2. Yeah. Okay. Saying that, it looks like yes has it there. We'll be moving on to now the next piece. Oh, vision. There was a call for division, now an objection. Seeing from them. Is there a request there? Is it? Okay. We're just going to have it and not allow that to go forward with the call for the division. We're going to move forward with the yes vote. What? No? Is there a question? Roll call? Okay. Okay, we're just going to move it into a roll call vote. So we're just going to have just count. Just. I'm not the guy. Okay, we're just going to move it into a roll call. So Carson, go ahead and just take it away there and over there. Oh. Crisis.
Okay. Atchison. Yes. Bellamy.
Yes, by proxy.
Biggs. Blood.
No.
Broughton.
Yes, by proxy.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta. Yes. Cup. Cup. Dennis.
No.
Drotz. Okay. Dunce.
Just give it.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock. Griffith. Haynes. Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine. Hoffmans. Holsey. Hundley. Jacobson. Kirshen. Kidd. Kermer. Kinsey. Lilly. Long. Lynn. Mason. Melcher. Moore. O'Malley. Oury. Pelton. Peterson. Rios. Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Saya Carly. Saya Nick. Salmon. Streetman. Strunk. Sushanik. West. Wingert. Wolf.
It's a yes for me and no for Francesca.
Okay.
Sorry, this is super complicated. Yes.
Zatgo.
Yes.
Okay. And that will pass 21 to 17 to 0.
All right. Moving on with that, caucus leader Kidd, point of information.
I heard at least one. I heard at least one abstention in that roll call vote. So how was there 0 abstentions when you just started the final?
Sorry.
Should be 1, yeah.
22 to 17 to 1.
There you go. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, we will now move on to next piece of legislation in final action, which is Resolution 232461, recommendation to Kansas State University regarding Election Day. Will the author please come forward? Okay, just someone. Okay, have any changes been made? All right.
Be it resolved sections with change to encourage voter registration, mail-in voting, and early voting. That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, and you have first rights to debate.
Okay. So the reason that we put this resolution forward is because of the importance that Senator Saya and I see in making sure that students have the ability to go and vote. A lot of students, if we are in classes on election day, for example, aren't able to go back home and vote if they're registered in their home county. This causes a lot of problems for students. I, in the past, have tried to request mail-in ballots twice now and never actually got them. So even mail-in voting can be really difficult sometimes. Alleviating this issue would be possible if we just didn't have classes on that day. SGA asked for this a couple of years ago, and nothing has changed at the university level, which is why we wanted to make sure that we were making our voices heard again on this issue to show how important we really do think this is. Not only this, but there are a lot of implications in terms of diverse individuals who are sometimes marginalized in terms of voting. For example, the bill explains that, or the resolution explains that Black and Hispanic individuals are twice as likely to be denied time away from work for voting. So we already see some of these issues happening on a larger societal level. K-State should be helping to alleviate those as much as we possibly can. So, you know, for all of those reasons, we definitely urge you to vote yes on this resolution.
All right, thank you for that. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Any further debate in the positive? Is there any debate at all? Seeing none, we're just going to move forward into a voice vote. Going to have the yays speak up and then the nays following right after. Okay, we'll be moving to a hand raise vote. So we're just going to have everybody raise their placards if they want to vote yes, no's after. Raise your plaques now for vote yes. Proxies raised 2. Okay, no's. Seeing with that, the yeas have it, and that resolution will pass. Okay, moving on to the next piece of legislation, Bill 232450, the continuation of the counseling and psychological service student services fee agreement. Will the author please come forward? Were there any changes made?
No changes were made.
All right,
However,
you have first rights to debate.
Line 36 will need to be changed to read 7 to 0 to 0.
Okay.
All right. So back in late October, the Student Services Fee Committee heard the review cycle and request of CAPS and Lafine. Student Health Committee for a little bit. For CAPS, for those that don't know, their contract was called out of cycle last fiscal year because they were in serious danger of not being able to pay their bills and keep the lights on. During that process, their budget was raised about $300,000. So when they are back up for review, when they were back for review this year, the committee decided, and it was requested by CAPS themselves, that the budget has not been in effect for an entire year yet. So there is no feasible way to know of its sufficiency. So this contract is recommending a 0% change for the next 3 fiscal years to give that time to make sure that budget works. As of right now, there's no concern that they would obviously like more money to work with, but they are not in the same danger they were last year of not being able to keep the lights on. This was discussed with them, and they are fully in favor of this change, or not change, I should say.
All right, thank you. With that, we will now be looking for debate in the negative. Okay, is there any further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? All right, seeing none. Up, Chair Blood.
I move to bulk roll call bills 50, 51, 52, and 53.
So there was a yes, and then there's a objection, and then a second. Moving forward, that might be. Yeah. We'll be moving into a hand vote on that.
Voice vote on motion.
Oh yeah, voice vote. We'll just moving on to a voice vote for that motion. For no, okay, just.
Point of order, it's a bill, has to be done by a roll call vote.
But you're on the motion. You have to vote.
You're on the. Oh.
Yes, you create a motion. Someone seconded it.
Have to vote on the motion now. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and move into a voice vote for the motion. So nope. A hand vote on the motion. Use placards. So raise your placards now for, if you want to vote to do that, and then raise your placards now for no. Sorry. Okay, well, rephrase that. We are now moving on the motion to bulk roll call. Bills 50, 51, 52, and 53, if I'm correct, and 50, so the 4. Okay. This will be now a hand vote, so you'll be raising your placards. So raise your placards now if you are voting yes on the motion to bulk roll call. Raise your placards for no. Proxies raised too, of course. All right. The yeas have it there. We'll now be moving to bulk roll call bills 50, 51, 52. No? You still have to debate? Okay. All right, changing that. So first rights to debate on. Okay, yeah.
No changes have been made. However, line 33 needs to be changed to say 7 to 0 to 0. I apologize. These are 4 different contracts for 3 different entities. One calling for increases, 2 calling for increases, 1 by 136,000, and 2 by nothing. So I was hoping we could do them separately, but here we are. This change gears. We are away from counseling and psychological services. We are now into Wildcat Watch. Wildcat Watch is the student media group on campus. They provide free filming services and video services to student groups. They operate with a much smaller budget, and this in particular, the one you're looking at right now, is their equipment reserve. They have a lot of really nice film equipment that they need to replace on a rolling basis. They have in that budget a carry-forward balance, and they've established and made a replacement schedule that they've stuck to, and it's working very well for them. So they saw no need to increase or change that budget, and neither did the committee. So this is getting a 0% continuance as well.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we are now moving into negative debate. Yeah. So there's any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, since this has been bulk, we're just going to move on to Bill 52. May the author please come forward. Any changes been made?
No changes have been made. However, line 42 needs to read 7 to 0 to 0. This is the bigger one. Lafine, the health center that we pay for on campus. Their budget over the past several fiscal years has been cut a lot due to COVID. When COVID happened, enrollment declined. We recouped a lot of our money from decreasing their budget, and they've managed to get through that. However, their operations are not what they could be if they have greater funds. The committee during the presentation was stunningly impressed with their operations as is and had absolutely no qualms about giving them a 3% increase. So Lafine's budget will be increased by about $136,000 for the next 3 fiscal years, a single increase to remain constant for the next 3 years, up to about $4.67 million.
All right, and with that, that is the end of positive debate. Do we have any further debate in the negative? Any further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to Bill 53, increase of the Wildcat Watch Operations Student Services Fee Agreement.
All right, and we are back to Wildcat Watch. This is their yearly operating budget. So the money they use to mostly pay their employees, a little bit of advertising and marketing, but pretty much every dollar that goes into this account is used to pay student employees. As of right now, Wildcat Watch has been operating on a carry forward balance. Their capacity, I should say, they're able to operate the capacity they can due to having reserves. During COVID, they did not receive a callback on their money, but they weren't doing film, so they weren't paying their student workers, meaning they were just building a reserve account. Now, post-COVID, they are operating 50% above capacity, meaning they're paying their student workers for 50% more hours than they actually have in their budget, but they're able to do that because they have reserves. Those reserves will run out by year 2 of this new contract. So the committee really was impressed with the work they're doing and does not want them to have to stop the capacity of work they're doing or lower the quality in any way, is recommending this increase around 22% to allow them to get at least close to what they're doing right now and stay at current operations. 22% sounds like a lot, but it's a $4,000 increase. So it's the budget's going from $18,000 to $22,000. This is an amazing group that does great work, and this smaller amount of money will allow them to continue doing great benefits for student organizations.
All right, thank you. And with that, we'll be now searching for negative debate. Is there any debate in the positive? Any further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to the bulk roll call vote for Bills 50, 51, 52, and 53. Secretary Cuesta, if you may take it away.
Sure. So we're voting on 4 different pieces of legislation, and so you can vote yes or no on each individual piece of legislation. So if you would respond yes to all, or no to all, or yes on XYZ bills and no on the FIDA one, that would be helpful. So, Atchison. Bellamy. Blood.
Yes to 50, yes to 51, yes to 52, and yes to 53.
Thank you. Biggs. Broughton.
Yes to all my cops.
Bruckner.
Yes to all.
Koch.
Yes to all.
Compton. Cup. Dennis.
Yes to all.
Drotz. Dunce. Fogel.
Yes for everything?
Glasscock.
Yes to all.
Griffith. Haynes. Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine. Hoffmans. Hulsey. Hunley, Jacobson, Kirshen, Kidd, Kinsey, Lily, Long, Lynn, Mason, Melcher, Moore, O'Malley, Oury, Pelton, Peterson, Rios, Rivard, Rodriguez Melendez, Rogers, Saya Carly, Saya Nick, Salmon, Streetman, Strunk, Sushanik, West, Winger, Wolf, Zago. Okay. Bills 50, 51, 52, and 53 will pass on a vote of 38 to 0 to 0.
All right, thank you. And with that, we'll now have exhausted final action. We'll be now moving on to introduction of allocations. Is there a move to consider the allocations? Senator Strunk? It's been moved and seconded to consider the allocations. May the author please come forward? No, just, sorry, yeah. Moving on we have bills 23, 24, 54, fiscal year 2024 student allocation to the Hispanic American Leadership Organization. Chair Long? Okay, never mind. And then bill 23, 24, 55, fiscal year 2024 student allocation to the Institute of Industrial System Engineers. From there, so just reading those on. Chair Lynn.
Can the chair explain on the Halo allocation why it was only $300?
Yeah.
Great question. So there was a little paperwork issue. We thought that we mixed up two of these organizations. So we thought that when we were approving this bill, we thought that Halo had already requested a travel allocation for $700, meaning that they can only receive up to $300, making that $100 per person up to $1,000. But we realized after this that that is not the case. And so this week in committee, we're going to revisit the amount and have a different one next Thursday. Probably. Can't speak for the committee. Any further questions?
All right. Thank you. Moving on. So just did those go to committee or? Yeah. Chair Blood. Okay. Anyway, we're going to move forward. So on to introduction of legislation. Chair Blood.
I move to consider bills 56, 57, and 58 concurrent. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider bills 56, 57, and 58 concurrently. May the author please come forward. Oh, sorry. Bud?
Also move to dispense with the introductory reading of the be it enacted clauses of bills 56, 57, and 58.
It's been moved, seconded, and then objected. Moving forward on that. Now may move on to going to do a hand vote. So raise your placards now if you want to move forward with the motion to just with the be enacted clauses, just mentioning that. And then proxies raised 2. Noes, you may raise now. Okay, seeing with that, the yeas have it. We'll just go ahead and proceed as there. What? Oh, just a second. Yeah, you can try. Okay.
All right. All the whereas clauses are the same. So, Bill 57. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should ensure that its mechanisms effectively represent the student voice. Whereas the KSU SGA Constitution constructs college councils to act as pseudo state-level deputies to the federal SGA. Whereas many KSU colleges lack established or active college councils. Whereas colleges with established and active college councils use them to advise deans and manage intra-college affairs. Whereas despite a divergence of purpose over time, college councils and KSU SGA cannot amend their respective constitutions without the others' approval. Whereas Bill 212234, amendments to the KSU SGA Constitution concerning college council ratification, attempted to economize the relationship between KSU SGA and college councils by removing their role in constitutional amendments. Whereas Bill 212234 failed to reach the threshold for a constitutional amendment by 1 vote. Whereas one argument cited in opposition to Bill 212234 was that college councils should be given an opportunity to revive their connection to KSU SGA. Whereas 2 years later, little has changed to restore college councils to their intended form. Whereas in 2023, SGA eliminated the open house line item, historically allocated to college councils of the student services fee. And whereas the modern relationship between KSU SGA and the college councils is in practice and philosophy divorced from KSU SGA's statutes, bylaws, and constitution.
Thank you. With that, now moving forward to Bill 57. You read off, right? Oh, is there any questions? Chair Long?
Well, that's a great question. So, college councils were invented a long time ago when SGA was invented to be like pretend states in our government. Over time, some of those college councils have totally disappeared, and some of them have adopted totally different functions. Like the College of Business has the Dean Student Advisory Council, which is a really great organization for meeting with the dean and providing advice on the student experience in the College of Business. Probably the people in this room that are on that body could speak to it better than I can. But I can tell you about the Engineering Student Council, which is focused on engineering organizations and their success in the college, because organizations are really important to the academic experience there. I think like the College of Health and Human Sciences just doesn't have one. I might be wrong on that, but plenty of colleges just don't have them. And my major point here is that they are different from what we wanted them to be and from what they're designed to be in our laws. They're part of our organization. And my argument is that they shouldn't be. That some colleges have them to manage very specific purposes, and that's great. They work well, and they should be allowed to work independently. But we shouldn't be dependent on them to approve our rules, and they shouldn't be dependent upon us, especially because so many of them don't even exist to give a yes or no on our law. So that's what I think, that's where this came from. This just seeks to separate their function and their operation from our operation and function.
Senator Glasscock. Thank you. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to.
Yeah, there's one.
Sorry. Yeah, Senator Mason.
Do you think that there might be further ramifications for separating certain councils from student government? Because I know, especially in the College of Business, the reason that we have DSAC is because all of the organization presidents are allowed to sit on that council with the senators. So those are also other student representatives for the college. So do you feel like there might be ramifications for separating those two bodies?
There's a really important point that I want to make here because that's a very good question. And that is what happens to the college councils if we were to pass this legislation? Nothing. DSAC has its own rules for how it operates, how it selects its membership, and who is involved. If I'm correct, members who represent the College of Business and SGA are members of DSAC, and then other members in the College of Business are also members. Is that correct? So you get to have that relationship, which works really well in that college. We don't want to tamper with that at all. And as that relationship works well or doesn't work well and continues to change in the future, I don't think it should be up to this organization how DSAC works. But we, with this legislation, wouldn't do anything to tamper with the processes that already work well today.
Is there any further question? Senator Griffith?
On Bill 57, Section 2, when you're revising Article 9, how come you decided on requiring only a simple majority for amendments to the statute, 2/3 for the bylaws, and 3/4 to the Constitution? How did you come to that conclusion?
I didn't decide. That's what the rules are now. The only change to the ratification process is that when we pass a constitutional amendment, then it wouldn't go to the college councils for their approval. That's the only change.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to next bill. Yeah. We'll be now moving on to Bill 59 with the disbursement of the Diversity Programming Fund Reserve. Chair Long. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 59. If the author may please come forward.
Okay, this is Bill 232459, Disbursement of the Diversity Programming Fund Reserve. Whereas the DEIB committee allocates the Diversity Programming Fund line item of the student activity fee, whereas the fiscal year 2024 budget for DPF is $137,734, whereas the DEIB committee has allocated $101,245 from this budget as of January 29th, 2024, leaving $36,489 remaining. Whereas as of January 29th, 2024, there are $60,050 in pending DPF applications. Whereas Chapter 24, Section 0107 of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes stipulate that at the discretion of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee Chair and with the approval of Student Senate, up to $50,000 in additional funds may be dispersed from the Diversity Programming Fund Reserve account. And whereas this disbursement will allow the DEIB committee to continue to conduct business and allocate appropriate funds for pending and future DPF requests. Be it enacted that Section 1, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, $50,000 be dispersed from NISA DPCRSV to the Diversity Programming Fund line item of the student activity fee.
Are there any questions? Senator Griffith?
We have had a lot of really impressive requests so far this year. And we've also had a lot of really large requests this year. So between those two things, the committee has allocated as they've seen appropriately for each individual request, which just so happens to have taken up a large portion of the budget so far.
Yeah, granted.
With line 17, you say that there are just over 60,000 pending. Is that
that has increased from when I wrote this bill on Sunday. So that $60,000 isn't quite, that $60,000 number isn't quite correct right now, but that's that is all of the applications that I have received that the committee has not yet heard. Applications don't actually close until tomorrow, and I've gotten 3 requests while we've been sitting in this room. So that number is going to continue to change until tomorrow.
Chair Blood.
The second half of the section that you cite between 19 and 22 does add the part that this is for large-scale student-centered diversity enhancing projects each year. Would you say that all 60+ thousand of those meet those criteria?
I would, yeah.
All right. Any further questions? Emerging Leader Hoffman. Emerging Leaders Coordinator Hoffman.
It's currently a little over $140,000.
Senator Glasscock.
Yeah, can you?
Is it for new events that are being made because they have access to this funding, or is it all events that are using SGA to help with the funding of their already existing events?
Okay, I see. I can't necessarily answer as to the motivations for each individual group. I would say it's probably a mix of both. There are a lot of events that tend to happen year over year. The drag show, for example, is one that the committee has funded for several years. BSU normally brings in a Black History Month speaker. That's one that we've funded for several years in a row. So there are some of those that obviously, as it has gotten closer to their kind of regular date, we are seeing them apply year over year. Some of them are brand new events that the committee has never funded, or they didn't know that the committee could fund in the past, what have you.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions? Senator Meeson.
How do you feel like with zoning changes now is going to affect the committee in the future? Do you think that you're not going to be able, I'm assuming that the requests aren't going to stop coming in. So how are you going to make sure that your committee can move on to future endeavors in the future year?
For future year, I mean, the budget resets every year. So next year, the committee is going to have another $137,000 to give out.
Right, but if you withdraw from the reserve now, how is that going to affect later on?
They would have potentially $50,000 less to pull out of next year, but since you can only pull out $50,000 and there are $140,000 in there, that wouldn't be an issue that we see until 3 years from now. When the reserves actually run out, but we replenish the reserves every year.
Thank you. Any further questions? Senator Griffith.
Should this bill fail, what would happen to the pending applications?
I would have to email all of the current applications and say, I'm sorry that we can't help them with any of their funding because we don't have any more money. So that would be, I believe as of now, 6 or 7 student organizations that have applied for money that we have notified to come present to the committee, that I would then have to turn around and say, sorry, we actually don't have any money left, and we wouldn't be able to give them anything.
Granted.
Even despite the fact that we still have the almost $37,000 remaining?
We spent, let me double check. We spent about $16,000 of that 36 on Tuesday during the committee meeting. So there is $20,000-ish left as of this moment. That would cover potentially not even the first allocation that we hear next Tuesday.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for that. We'll now be moving forward with voting. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I moved to special order 232459.
It's been moved and seconded to special order. May the author please come forward.
Yes.
First
Okay.
rights debate.
Obviously, there have been no changes. So this bill, the reason that I want to make sure we get this special ordered tonight is, like I was alluding to during questioning, there are 2 student groups that are going to be coming to present to my committee this coming Tuesday. The amount that we have remaining isn't even enough to cover both of those student groups that are going to be coming Tuesday, and I still have 5 more applications that students have turned in to me beyond that. So obviously there's a really large need for these funds, and we're seeing really big interest amongst our student groups. We haven't hit the actual threshold for funding for DPF in many, many years. So the fact that we are so close to hitting our budget and then are needing to get more, I think is a really big testament to how our organizations have bounced back after COVID in the last several years, and partially on part of SGA for doing a really great job of getting out in front of student organizations and making sure they know about these opportunities. With that being said, the flip side of that is that obviously we have more interest and students want to utilize that funding. While it's here, I would like to use it rather than just let it sit in an account. So for those reasons, I definitely think that we should pass this bill tonight. Thank you.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there a debate in the negative? Is there any further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote, considering a special order, so that will require 2/3 to pass. So if you may all raise your placards now, proxies raised too. All opposed, same sign. Okay, and that moves forward. So with that being said, we move now into, that was just debate on the, yeah, it was. Okay, so now we're moving on to the passage debate on the actual legislation. So yeah. Yeah.
See my last speech. I think I kind of covered why you should vote on this bill in that one.
Thank you. Is there a debate in the negative? All right. Is there further debate in the positive? Is there any debate at all? Seeing none, we will now move again, since this is a bill. This is a bill. We'll be moving into a roll call vote. Questy may take it away.
Atchison. Bellamy. Biggs. Blood.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes, by proxy.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz.
Yes, by proxy.
Dunce. Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock. Griffith. Haynes. Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine. Hoffmans. Hulsey. Hudley. Jacobson. Was that a no? Okay. Christian. Kidd. Kermer. Kinsey. Lilly. Long. Lynn. Mason. Melcher, Moore, O'Malley, Oury, Pelton, Peterson, Rios, Rivard, Rodriguez Melendez, Rogers, Saya Carly, Saya Nick, Salmon, Streetman, Strunk, Sushanik, West, Wingert, Wolf, Zatgo. Okay. Bill 23-24-59 passes on a vote of 36 to 2 to 1.
Seeing with that, sorry, if we're seeing with that, we're going to move now into the moving forward open period, second open period. So if there's any second open period speakers that would like to come forward, please step up. Chair Long.
I think I alerted all the engineering caucus members, but GroupMe is finicky at the best of times. We're going to have our, excuse you. We're going to have our, we wanted to call it a town hall. Engineering Student Council didn't like that name. They like the name forum. So the student forum with various members of the College of Engineering, it's open, but we're going to make sure that we're going to try to make sure that all the student org presidents are there. So if you didn't see my text message in our group chat, that's on the 15th in the Women in Engineering Conference Room in the FLC on the 15th from 3 to 4 p.m. We just got to show up and be ready to answer questions, mostly probably about money, honestly, and things from the members of the College of Engineering. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any questions? All right. Is there any further first open period speakers? Caucus leader Salmon.
Hello, everyone. I have three things. First, Powercut Financial is hosting an event on February 12th from 4 to 5. It's called Love and Money. It is about merging finances with your partner or significant others. I'll be presenting as well as someone from the financial planning department. It's an extraordinary presentation, very tangible, very applicable. I would encourage you to come. Second thing and third thing are from Blue Key. Blue Key has scholarship applications that are open for the next month. It's like $13,000 in scholarships. You should apply. There's a variety of different scholarships for a variety of different ages and backgrounds, etc. Second, if you are a junior, I would encourage you to apply for Blue Key. Applications due the 15th of February. Thank you. Any questions? Appreciate it.
All right. Any further second open period speakers? Senator Cope.
Hey guys, I just wanted to invite you to like a competition event. It's called the Leadership Challenge event, where there's one spot opening where it's like you get to like role play into like this modern city that always like faces some weird disaster. So like last year it was a grocery store fire in a rundown neighborhood, and so it's like you had to figure out like different ways to like work with your team to kind of like make like work and like solve the problem. And so there's 2 teams from K-State going. There's one open spot. It's in Topeka in late February. If you guys are interested, just let me know, and then I will give you more information.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? All right, seeing none. Any further second open period speakers? Senator Zatko.
Okay, I've talked about Silver Key before, but I'm the VP of Public Relations for Silver Key Sophomore Honorary. We have our applications closing next month, not this coming Monday, but next Monday, February 12th. So I have these little handouts. If there's any freshmen or any first year students that you know of that would be interested, it's a really cool organization. So come get one. It has a QR code for our application. Also, it's on our Instagram and everything like that. So, yeah.
Any questions? Seeing none. Any further second term period speakers? Emerging Leaders Coordinator Hoffman.
Hey guys, whoa. I'm here to talk to you about Econ Club meeting next Tuesday. Meets at 6:45. We're talking about what Taylor Swift, Mr. Beast, and Gen Z influencers can teach us about entrepreneurship and economics. So for all you Swifties, it's messed up if you don't come.
Thank you for that. All right. Is there any further second term period speakers? All right, and with that, we'll be moving on to Senate shoutouts. Questa, take it away with it.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Interim Secretary Cuesta from Chinook, Kansas, of all places. Shout out to the front of the room. It's a scary place out there. Shout out to Interim Secretary Pilchard for an incredible job chairing Senate tonight. Shout out to EP for accepting all forms of currency, legal and otherwise. Shout out to me, Pro Tem Kappelman, for doing a lovely job. Wait a minute, I'm not Pro Tem Kappelman. I've been tricked, backstabbed, and quite possibly bamboozled. Well, I think I did a good job too. Shout out to Peyton Lynn, you look so great. Shout out to Nick Saya and his fresh numbers. Shout out to, quote, just don't build it. Shout out to Jacob Long strutting to the platform in all caps like a boss. Is Jacob Long Bob the Builder? No one will know. Shout out to just a little parking, not a lot of parking. Shout out to car-centric infrastructure, yay. Shout out to the College of Vet Med for not wanting to be included in anything that happens on main campus. Shout out to parking. Shout out to interim leaders. Shout out to Senate for always debating the least important of issues ad nauseum. Shout out to, of course, when Kate leaves, it all, skip that one. Shout out to all hail our mighty dictator, Ethan Pilchard. Shout out to Senator Griffith's outfit. Shout out to Senator Kermer texting me, quote, oops, I fell asleep through my alarm. Shout out to not knowing what is going on. Shout out to, if you can hear us, Kate, please save us from our suffering. Shout out to Anna for being the only one who knows what's going on here tonight. Shout out to Blue Key, may your funding dreams come true. Shout out to Yes to All by proxy. Shout out to Sam for giving me an orange. Shout out to voice votes. Shout out to fist bumps. Shout out to silly little hats. Shout out to not wanting to be here. Amen. Shout out to, have I had to say shout out to Blue Key yet? Go Blue Key. Shout out to SGA loves Blue Key. Someone call Marta. Shout out to Jacob for loving Blue Key. Shout out to Hangovers. Shout out to Contentious College of APD race. Shout out to Evan stalking the live stream. Shout out to being bored in Senate. Shout out to making rude faces at people while they're speaking. That's cool, guys. We should do more than that. Shout out to Carson reading the shout outs. Shout out to having 3 Jacobs in the room. They must duel. My money's on Hoffman's. Shout out to EP. You did really well. I'm glad they let you rule. Shout out to not paying attention. Shout out to EP. Great job tonight. Shout out to Nick's Hands. Shout out to the Blue Key Cult. Shout out to Making Carson read shout outs. And last but not least, shout out for Kate watching on Zoom. What a proud mom.
There you go. There you go, everybody. Thank you for that. We'll be now moving into second roll call.
Okay. Atchison. Bellamy. Biggs. Blood. Broughton. Bruckner. Koch, Compton, Cup, Dennis, Drotz, Dunce, Fogel, Glasscock, Griffith, Haynes, Hartzell, Heatherman, Hesseltine, Hoffmans, Hulsey, Hundley, Jacobson, Kirshen, Kidd, Kermer, Kinsey, Lilly, Long, Lynn, Mason, Melcher, Moore, O'Malley, Oury, Pelton, Peterson, Rios, Rivard, Rodriguez Melendez, Rogers, Saya Carly, Saya Nick, Solomon, Streetman, Strunk, Sushanik, West, Winger, Wolf, Zatgo, and that's it.
All right, thank you. And we'll now be seeking a movement to adjourn. Oh, reference. We're just gonna move it? Yeah, we'll just go for adjournment. Is there a move to adjourn? Reference of legislation? We'll be moving and referencing legislation. Also be sending the two allocations to the Senate Allocations Committee, the three presiding amendment documents to Senate Ops, and yep, that's all. Okay, now we're seeking a motion to adjourn. Senator Glasscock. It's been moved and seconded. We'll now be adjourning this meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.